Hey guys, it's Sympaima here. I hope you enjoy what you're about to watch. This is my very first YouTube video, so please be patient with me. This painting video showcases my recent piece, Black Girl Tears, and how I will be using a medium called Neo McGilp and oil paint for the very first time to see how it acts compared to just using oil paint by itself. If I don't draw the original painting before with like graphite and so on, or the preliminary sketch, I used a watered down, really oil paint mixed with Gamsol version to sketch it out so I can get the proportions right before I start painting. Once the sketch is finished, I begin to paint the underpainting with using either the same Gamsol with oil paint, or I use a mix of stand oil and Gamsol with oil paint, and plan out the highlights and the shadows and to make more of the 3D like form in the painting. While I'm doing the underpainting, sometimes I want to lighten certain areas, so I take a dry tissue and dip it in Gamsol and rub it lightly onto the wet paint so it picks up the paint on there to make highlights, and then I could go back and work onto it. Building up the underpainting is necessary sometimes when it comes to oil painting, so it helps to soak in or accept the oil paint, so it's easier to apply while painting, and it doesn't give like a certain blotchiness, I guess you could say. I personally like starting all my paintings with underpaintings usually. It just feels better that way instead of starting with a blank canvas or surface. Once I'm done with the underpainting and it dries completely, I switch to the mix of paint that I made, which the Neo McGilp and the oil paint. But in this mixture, I didn't use a lot. I put probably a 1:4 ratio of Neo McGilp and oil paint. This is the beginning of the first layer, or I could say the form pass, which is where I'm trying to block in everything but paint to completion at the same time. In this part, I tend to use my stiffer brushes that are usually of Bristol with thicker hair than instead of a fine or real hair brush. As you can see, I'm doing mostly tone variations in it. Instead of going into a detail by detail for every section, it's more so dark, medium, and highlight, or two lighter tones. I'm not doing every single color in the spectrum of the skin so far. If I didn't take a break in this painting and ended from the start to finish, it would have been considered an all prima, where you paint to a completion. For the details, I brought in the round brush. I think it's the 0/3 size, and I use that for mainly like the major details, but not like the extremely tiny ones, so I still get what information I want in the painting. I chose to make the eye color the same as the flowers because I felt like just making a brown eye would kind of be boring, so I was like, let me make a purple eye. There's no real reason why I made the purplish or lavender colored iris, but I wanted to try something new. To add more depth to the flowers, I followed the direction of the lighting from the eye and used it to put underneath the flowers to make it feel like as if the flowers are existing with the eye itself. I light comes from the top left corner, as you can see, or just the left side. So most of the shadows are on the right side as corresponding. After my first initial session of painting, the next day I started to develop and render the painting even further, hence why the title is Form Pass 2. In here, I show where I focus more of my attention, such as like the eye itself, the eyelid, the eyebrow, and the flowers, and the texture of the skin. Here, I even change my brushes and go even smaller to create more concrete and concise details in the painting. I also have a much more elaborate mixes of paint, so it's not such a limited palette, or not really limited palette. The term should be I have more tones and tints in it compared to how it was in the first session of painting it. Thankfully, because I started with the underpainting, it helps me see where to wrap the paint around to make it as if like it's a real form or a 3D like form for like such as like the eye, to make it seem like it's poking out of the paper instead of it being a two-dimensional piece. I actually used the blue brush, which is a dagger brush, for the very first time I think in this painting. I did not realize how good it was for making crisp lines or like sharp turns that I want in the painting to be defined that a round brush couldn't get, because sometimes when I tried to make a line with the round brush, it would drag the paint that's already on there instead of applying the paint that's on the actual brush. Layering the paint is key at this time period because it's the layers that make the piece beautiful in my opinion, and it's easier to blend the colors when they're like, if you mix colors close enough to each other and you put them right next to each other. And then I just use a clean or just the same brush sometimes to just mend them together so you don't see a harsh line, unless I want the harsh shadow line as if like just like the inner side of the eye socket. I also started to use the maul stick again to make sure that my hand was steady when I was doing the harder lines or painting areas. My maul sticks are also custom made, and if you would like to find out how I made that, I can make a tutorial on how to go about it. Probably the hardest part for me was trying to get a cool or somewhat warm shadow mixed with a really warm mid-tone color, because if you notice, the majority of the skin is a really warm orange like brown, so that's my skin color, and then for the shadow is more of a cool umber color. So that transition was probably like the hardest one, because I didn't want it to look muddy or to look as if I try to just mix anything, it doesn't look natural per se. Flat brushes, in my opinion, are essential for layering certain types of areas, like, you know, where it's how do I explain? More of like the more plain, like as if I was going to paint a sphere. I wouldn't paint a sphere with like a skinny round brush. I would use the flat to spread it and layer it up, and then I might clear it up or clean it up with like a round brush. I think, in my opinion, the eyelid was probably the hardest area to paint, and I think both eyelids, not just the upper and just in the bottom, but both, and the eye itself. It was very difficult with putting layers on and then hoping that they'll stay on, even though some of them keep wiping off. So I guess that's the one good thing if you paint with just oil paint sometimes, or if you let that area dry first and then go back. But I don't like how it doesn't look if you as if it's not the same layer. Like, I like the idea of painting it in one go compared to several mini layers. And the finishing part are the final details, as in like the eyebrow, the eyelashes, the highlight, the super highlight really, and all of that. Thank you for watching if you made it to the end of this video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of my content. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll be uploading new pieces every week. See you soon. Bye.